My name is Alex, and my fascination with the hidden corners of the internet has always been more than just a hobby. It's been an obsession. Ever since I was a kid, I was captivated by the mysteries that lay behind the screen. I would spend hours hacking into old, discarded computers, eager to see what secrets they might hold. This curiosity eventually led me to pursue a degree in cybersecurity, where I excelled, driven by the thrill of outsmarting security systems and uncovering hidden data. But it wasn't just the technical challenge that drew me in. It was the stories, the secrets whispered in digital dark alleys that captivated me. After graduating, I found myself drawn deeper into the shadows of the deep web and dark web. The allure of anonymity, the challenge of navigating through encrypted layers, and the tantalizing prospect of uncovering hidden truths kept me hooked. This story, however, isn't just about my curiosity. It's about how I stumbled into something so horrifying that it still haunts my every waking moment. It's about the price of seeking the truth and the darkness that lurks in the shadows of the digital world. It was a rainy Tuesday night when I first discovered the abyss below. I was sitting in my small apartment, the sound of raindrops tapping against the window pane. My screen glowed softly in the dark room as I scrolled through a darknet forum, discussing the latest exploits and encryption techniques with fellow cybersecurity enthusiasts. It was then that a private message popped up, jarring me from my reverie. The sender was someone named Watcher, and the message contained only a single line. "Are you ready to uncover the truth?" My heart skipped a beat as I clicked the attached invite link, which led me to a forum unlike any other. The abyss below claimed to reveal the darkest secrets of powerful entities. It was invite only, and the atmosphere in the forum was tense, almost palpable. The posts were cryptic, filled with coded language and hidden references that hinted at knowledge far beyond the mundane. I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension as I navigated through the forum. The messages were filled with a sense of urgency and paranoia, a stark contrast to the usual banter I was used to. It was clear that the members of this forum were playing a dangerous game, and the stakes were incredibly high. Watcher reached out to me directly after I joined. His messages were a strange combination of paranoia and urgency. "There's something happening in your city," he wrote. "Something that needs to be exposed. But it's dangerous. If you're caught, there will be consequences." Intrigued and unable to resist the pull of the unknown, I agreed to help. Watcher quickly provided me with my first task, to investigate an abandoned warehouse located in a rundown part of town. He sent coordinates and a cryptic instruction: "Find the hidden truth." As I read his message, a chill ran down my spine. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. I knew that once I stepped into this world, there would be no turning back. The path ahead was fraught with danger. Some truths are too important to remain buried. I gathered my gear, checked my encrypted connections, and set out into the night. The rain had intensified, and the city streets were slick and deserted. As I drove towards the coordinates Watcher had given me, a sense of foreboding settled over me. I had no idea what I was about to uncover, but I knew it would change my life forever. The drive to the abandoned warehouse felt like an eternity. The rain pounded against my windshield, and the rhythmic swish of the wipers was the only sound breaking the silence of the night. The streets were empty, save for the occasional flicker of neon signs from the few businesses that remained open in this part of town. I double-checked the coordinates Watcher had sent me, confirming that I was headed in the right direction. When I arrived, the warehouse loomed ominously in the darkness. It was an old, decrepit building, its structure appearing fragile and ready to collapse at any moment. Broken windows stared out like hollow eyes, and the heavy iron door creaked as I pushed it open, the sound echoing through the vast, empty space inside. The air was thick with the smell of mold and decay, and my footsteps reverberated off the walls as I ventured deeper into the labyrinth of rusting machinery and forgotten crates. I switched on my flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness, revealing the desolate interior. My heart pounded in my chest as I moved cautiously, each step bringing me closer to whatever secrets lay hidden within. After what felt like hours of searching, I stumbled upon a concealed compartment beneath a pile of old wooden pallets. My hands trembled as I pried it open, revealing a small, encrypted USB drive. But that wasn't all. Scattered around the compartment were remnants of a horrifying past, documents hinting at human trafficking operations, photos of young women and children with hollow eyes, and lists of names. The sheer magnitude of what I had uncovered hit me like a ton of bricks. I quickly gathered the evidence and made my way back to my car, my mind racing. This wasn't just about exposing some corrupt officials. This was a window into pure, unadulterated evil. As I drove back to my apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The shadows seemed to move with a life of their own, and every car that passed me felt like a potential threat. Back at my apartment, I locked the door and pulled the curtains shut. My hands were still trembling as I connected the USB drive to my computer. The encryption was sophisticated, but nothing I couldn't handle. I took a deep breath, calming myself before diving into the decryption process. Hours later, I finally broke through. What I found was even more chilling than I had imagined. The files contained detailed records implicating local government officials in an elaborate human trafficking and organ trade ring. Names, dates, transactions. Everything was meticulously documented. The level of detail was staggering, and it was clear that these people had been operating with impunity for years. As I sifted through the files, a sense of dread settled over me. These were powerful people who would stop at nothing to keep their secrets hidden. If I exposed this information, I would be risking my life. But how could I stay silent in the face of such atrocity? I reached out to Watcher, detailing my findings. His response was immediate and brief. You have to decide if you're willing to go all the way, but be warned. Once you start, there's no turning back. The weight of the decision pressed down on me as I sat in the darkened room. I knew that my life was about to change forever. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but some truths are too important to remain buried. Determined to see this through, I began to compile the evidence, creating a secure backup in case anything happened to me. The paranoia gnawed at the edges of my mind, but I pushed it aside, focusing on the task at hand. Every noise outside my apartment made me jump. Every shadow seemed to conceal a hidden threat. Days turned into nights, and I barely left my apartment, engrossed in the mountains of evidence I had uncovered. The more I learned, the more horrified I became. This was a conspiracy that reached into the highest echelons of power, and I was determined to bring it to light. But the deeper I delved, the more dangerous my situation became. Anonymous threats started appearing in my inbox, and one day I came home to find my apartment ransacked. My computer had been smashed, and all my files were gone. They had even taken the backups I thought were well hidden. It was clear that someone powerful was watching my every move and was determined to silence me. Desperate and unsure of who to trust, I contacted Watcher again. They know about me. They've been in my home, I typed with trembling fingers. Stay calm, Watcher replied. Meet me in person. We need to talk. Bring the USB. The rendezvous point was a secluded park on the outskirts of the city. The night was eerily silent as I approached the designated bench. Watcher was already there, a hooded figure almost blending into the shadows. We're in over our heads, I whispered as I handed him the USB. They're serious about this. My life is at risk. I know, Watcher said, his voice low and gravelly. But we can't stop now. I've been following this trail for years. We're close to bringing them down. Our conversation was interrupted by a loud noise. We both turned to see a group of men approaching, their faces obscured by masks. Without thinking, Watcher grabbed my arm and we ran, the sound of footsteps and shouts echoing behind us. Running through the park, my breath came in ragged gasps. The masked men were gaining on us. I followed Watcher as we darted through trees and leapt over benches, but I could feel my legs growing weaker with each step. We finally reached the edge of the park where Watcher had parked a car. We jumped in, and he floored the accelerator, the tires screeching as we sped away. "Where are we going?" I asked, trying to steady my racing heart. "Someplace safe," Watcher replied, his eyes darting between the road and the rearview mirror. "We need to regroup and figure out our next move." He drove us to an old warehouse on the outskirts of town, much like the one where this whole nightmare began. Inside, the place was dimly lit, filled with dusty old furniture and boxes. Watcher guided me to a small room in the back where a table was set up with multiple computer monitors and other surveillance equipment. "We can stay here for a while," he said, locking the door behind us. "But we need to act fast. Those men won't stop until we're silenced." We quickly got to work, using the encrypted USB drive to compile all the evidence we had gathered. Watcher revealed that he had been collecting information for years, and together we managed to piece together the full scope of the conspiracy. It was even more sinister than I had imagined. The trafficking ring was part of a larger network that spanned multiple cities, involving high-ranking officials, law enforcement officers, and wealthy businessmen. Just as we were about to upload the files to multiple news outlets and law enforcement agencies, the warehouse lights suddenly went out. The monitors flickered off, plunging us into darkness. "They've found us," Watcher whispered, pulling a gun from his waistband. "We need to defend ourselves and get this information out no matter what." Moments later, the door burst open and the masked men flooded into the room. Gunfire erupted and Watcher returned fire, hitting one of the intruders. I dove behind a crate, clutching my laptop, desperately trying to finish the upload. Bullets whizzed past and the sound of shouting filled the air. "Cover me!" I yelled to Watcher as I continued typing furiously. The progress bar inched forward, and I prayed it would complete in time. One of the masked men lunged at me and we grappled, rolling across the floor. I managed to grab a nearby metal pipe and swung it at his head, knocking him out cold. I scrambled back to the laptop, my hands shaking. "Almost there," I muttered to myself as the upload neared completion. With one final burst of gunfire, Watcher took down the last of the attackers. He stumbled over to me, blood seeping from a wound in his shoulder. "You did it!" he gasped, looking at the screen. The upload was complete. The evidence was now in the hands of journalists, activists, and law enforcement across the country. The sound of sirens filled the air as reinforcements arrived, alerted by the gunfire. Watcher and I managed to escape through a back door, our breaths ragged and hearts pounding. We split up, knowing it was safer that way. As I fled into the night, the gravity of what had just happened began to sink in. We had done it. We had exposed the truth, but the danger was far from over. The people we had crossed would stop at nothing to silence us. But for now, I had to focus on staying alive and finding a way to ensure that justice would be served. Months later, I found myself in a small, quiet town far from the chaos of the city. The tranquility here was a stark contrast to the turmoil of my recent past. I had taken on a new identity, severing all ties with my old life, and started a non-profit organization dedicated to helping victims of cybercrimes and exposing corruption. The fear of being discovered still lingered, a constant reminder of the shadows I had escaped from, but I channeled that anxiety into my work, determined to make a difference. My days were now filled with the steady rhythm of a new life. The organization quickly gained traction, drawing attention from those who had been wronged and were seeking justice. Every day I heard stories of people affected by the dark underbelly of the internet, and it fueled my resolve to fight back. The skills I had honed over years of navigating the deep web were now tools for good, and the satisfaction of helping others brought a sense of purpose that I had never felt before. Watcher remained a shadowy figure in my life, a ghost from the past who occasionally resurfaced. We communicated through secure channels, our messages cryptic and sparse, but our bond had grown stronger. Despite his injury, his resolve was unyielding. We worked on new cases together, unraveling dark secrets and bringing them to light. Each successful operation was a small victory in our ongoing battle against the forces of corruption and evil. One evening, as I was closing up the office, my phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Watcher. "Got a lead on a new case, high stakes, need your expertise." The familiar adrenaline surged through me as I read his words. The shadows of the past still lurked, but they no longer held the same fear. Instead, they had become a part of who I was, a reminder of the battles fought and the victories won. The events of that fateful night in the warehouse stayed with me, a constant reminder of the price of truth. The faces of the victims we had saved, the corrupt officials we had exposed, and the allies we had lost flashed through my mind. It was a heavy burden, but one I carried with pride. I had no regrets. Some truths are too important to remain buried, and as long as I had breath in my body, I would keep fighting to expose them. The abyss below had tried to consume me, but in the end, it only made me stronger. And though the shadows still lurked, I had found my purpose within them. With each new case, each new truth uncovered, I felt a little more vindicated. The fight was far from over, but I was ready. The darkness had shown me the light, and I would never stop shining it into the deepest, darkest corners of the world.